My name is Ava, and I'm going to be teaching you how you can describe yourself in French. I have made these flashcards, which consist of words which is going to help you. Okay, let's start with the sentence I just said. Bonjour, my name is Ava. Let's move on to je m'appelle. Je m'appelle. And the spelling for je m'appelle is actually a little bit tricky, so I'm going to teach you a little rhyme to help you remember it. So, double P, double L, this is how we spell appel. So then you can remember that there's two P's and two L's. Okay, now here's how we can use je m'appelle. You just use it to introduce yourself. For example, I would say, je m'appelle Ava. My name is Ava. You could use it with a boy's name as well. You could do je m'appelle Harry or je m'appelle Jean. It's really simple. You just add your name to the phrase and you make je m'appelle Ava or your name. Okay, now we've got that covered hopefully. Let's move on to our next sentence. We have je suis. We're going to use it to describe our height. So I'm quite small for my age, so I'm going to say je suis petite. I am small. But if you were tall on the other hand, you could say je suis grande. I am tall. Now, there's another meaning. There's another way to describe this, but I'm going to move on to that at the end because it's a little bit more advanced. I'm going to move on to that when we look at another sentence explaining where we live. Now, we have j'ai. I have. Let's use this to describe our age first of all. So I'm 12. So you would say I have 12 years instead of I am 12. Otherwise, we'd use je suis for that. So I would say j'ai 12 ans. I'm guessing you are about 10 or 11. So I'm going to use your age. Let's use 11. J'ai 11 ans. Great. Now let's move on to our eye colour. So as you can tell, I have brown eyes. So I'm going to use mine as an example. J'ai les yeux bruns. I have eyes brown or brown eyes. Now the reason why there's a le there is because it's plural, because we do have two eyes after all. Now let's do the same thing, but instead of saying les yeux, we're going to say les cheveux. Now I do kind of have brown hair, but it's more blonde, and blonde's a different word to brun. So let's use that. J'ai les cheveux bruns. I have hair, blonde or blonde hair. Now, you can use it with any colour you want. Well, some people dye their hair pink, so let's use pink as an example. J'ai les cheveux roses. Now, I'm going to move on to some other sentences. I'm also going to come back to j'ai at the end. So, let's start off with, let's go to j'habite. And I promised you that we'd go back to je suis for another phrase when we've finished this one. So, j'habite, I live. J'habite, I live. Okay. So, say if you live in Alderley Edge, where our school is, you'd say j'habite à Alderley Edge. I live in Alderley Edge. Say if you lived in Wilmslow, which is near Alderley Edge, which is where I live, you would say j'habite à Wilmslow. Or you would say j'habite à Manchester. If you wanted to say the whole country, then you'd have to exchange the a for an un. So, j'habite en Angleterre. I live in England. Great, I think we've got that covered. So let's move back to je suis, where we're going to say that you've been to England. You've been to France. Let's use France as an example, because I know you've been to England. Let's say, je suis allée en France. I have been to France. Do you know what I mean when I say je suis? Because it has that in the sentence. Je suis allée en France. I have been to France. Okay, now I hope you've got that covered, but if you haven't, you can just rewind it. Now, let's move to birthdays. So I'm going to be teaching you how you can say your birthday. So, my birthday is the 3rd of January. So I would be saying, Mon anniversaire, c'est 3 janvier. My birthday is 3 January. It doesn't really make sense, but if you translate it, it will. But if your birthday is on the 1st, you're very special because you get a whole new word. You get premier, instead of un. So say if your birthday was the 1st of January, you would say, Mon anniversaire, c'est 1er janvier. Okay, now let's move on to our final sentence, or our final 2 sentences. We're going to go back to j'ai. J'ai visité un musée. I have visited a museum. Visiter just slots in there, which means visited, as you can probably tell, because it's similar to the English word. J'ai visité un musée. I have visited a museum. All right, now our very, very, very last sentence, we're going back to j'ai again, very popular one. J'ai un petit chien. We're going back to where we use our height here. So say if you had a big dog, you'd say, J'ai un grand chien. Now if you don't understand any of that, you can just go back to rewind the section. Now let's read it all. Je m'appelle Ava. J'ai 12 ans. J'habite à Winslow. J'ai les yeux bruns. J'ai les cheveux blondes. Mon anniversaire, c'est janvier 3. Je suis allée en France. J'ai visité un musée. And then finally, we have j'ai un petit chien. And you can say that now because I've taught all of you that in this short clip. So, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. And again, if you don't understand anything, just go and rewind. I hope you have a lovely day. Au revoir!